haven't had an ecstatic experience of motherhood, and I wouldn't lie about that, but I feel like it's just such a common experience that actually motherhood breaks our hearts in a lot of ways. It breaks us down, and that's why it's the sunnah of life. That's why it's such an important part of spiritual maturity, having children, because you're forced into submission by these little beings, and you must, or you will suffer. Yeah.
Welcome to the Wild Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Willow Brook. Here we explore the divinity woven into everyday life, the beauty, the grief, the mystery of being alive. Through conversations with wisdom keepers, artists, and seekers, we listen for the truths that crack us open and the stories that bring us home. In this episode, I sit down with my dear friend, Mona Haydar, to explore creativity, spiritual discipline, drawing on love to animate our activism, and the liberatory power of music. Hello, and welcome back to the Wild Heart Podcast, where we explore divinity in daily life. Today's guest is the inspiring artist Mona Haydar, and Mona is a rapper, poet, activist, and tireless God-enthusiast. She practices a life of sacred activism, poetry, contemplation, and advocacy for living gently upon the earth. She continues to perform her poetry, offers workshops, and leads retreats, as well as gives lectures and teaches workshops all over the world. She is the host of the PBS miniseries, The Great Muslim American Roadtrip. And Mona and her husband Sebastian were residents at the Lama Foundation, which is where I got to meet them. And they're also very connected to Mirabai in that way. So it is a great joy to have you with us today, Mona. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for inviting me, Willow.
What an honor. Well, I want to start with your new album, Songs from the Mothership, because this came out pretty recently. And as I shared with you after I first listened, as I was driving from Taos to Santa Fe, it was deeply meaningful for me. And I was jaw dropped and heart opened. And there's such a variety and depth in this album. And I want to dive into a lot of different parts of it. But I actually just want to start by asking you, because you are such an incredible artist and musician and poet and such a deep devotional practitioner, you marry that in a way that's so inspiring to me. I would love to hear you speak about how your spiritual life and your relationship to the divine is connected to your process as an artist, and how your process as an artist is also connected to your spiritual life.
Bismillah. So I feel incapable of compartmentalizing the two parts of myself. I feel they're inseparable. The devotional side of who I am, the Muslim, the one who is seeking to submit to Allah all the time, in every part of my life, whether it's my role as a mother or as an artist, rapper, musician, poet, or in my role as a servant of God. Ultimately, they are all, I hope, avenues for me to receive the love, capital L love of God, the special blessing of His love, not just His general mercy that pours out for everyone, but I seek His pleasure beyond just a general outpouring of mercy that He blesses all of us with all the time. So the music isn't separate from the faith. It's all wound up together. It's all one package. And yeah, I think it would be hard actually for me to separate them. People say, there's a lot of critique that comes with the way I do music, because it's not exactly like devotional music. It's not exactly traditional nasheed or kirtan or whatever, what have you, as far as traditional devotional music. But it is music that is seeking to know God by knowing ourselves, and humbly submitting further and further and giving up whatever it is that is not serving us in realizing our full potential of knowing God. So giving whatever that is up, that unveiling process, that giving away process, that giving up, that submitting process. So the music is just a part of it. It's not separate from it, I hope. Yeah.
Yeah, so beautiful. And that's kind of what we're up to. And on this podcast, too, of seeing how all of those things are so obviously a part of the spiritual life. And I see that embodied in you. And yeah, I want to bring in to a little bit of your musical history, like Hijabi, because this was rated one of the top protest songs of 2017. And it has been a song that I continue to share with people. Actually, Manny and I were in Morocco last Eid, and we were traveling around in that time, kind of exploring the area. We were taking a taxi from Tangier to Chefchaouen, this blue city nearby. Actually, that's where I got this dress. I didn't do that on purpose, but and we were connecting with our driver, and at one point he was playing this music and we said, could we play some music? And we played Hijabi.
I still rap my hijab, rap my hijab, rap my hijab, rap my hijab. Keep swagging my hijabi, swagging my hijabi, swagging my hijabi, swagging my hijabi. Me and my hijab.
And he just loved it. He was like so in it, bringing that love and the incredible activism of your music. It feels like a magnetic music because it is this different kind of devotional music, I would say. I want to ask you how your art and your music has been received in the Muslim world, how it's been embraced or criticized, and how you have danced with that.
I mean, you would have to ask the Muslim world. Not me. I'll just, I guess I'll reflect what I've heard people have said, and through the comments on YouTube and whatnot. So as far as what the Muslim world thinks, I love them regardless of what they think or feel about me. I made the music as a means, as an outlet for my own soul, seeking liberation for my own self. And those who are triggered by it or confused by it or hurt by it, that is their work. That's their work, to unravel, to detangle whatever it is that is being called, that is calling on them, knocking at their door. So I'll be honest, Willow, and say that I don't bother myself about it too much anymore. It used to really hurt, especially from those who just outright say false things, make false claims about what I believe based on my music. Saying that I'm not Muslim. But I leave that question to God. And I don't bother myself with the opinions of human beings who are just as fragile and delicate and hurt as I am.
Mhm.
And so that part doesn't bother me anymore. And actually, through the beautiful training of Islam, through my teachers and especially my mother, I have come to see that all of the negative comments and painful critiques, and especially the lies, that they actually benefit me. And it's on the album. It's in the song Strike, where I talk about how I am benefited by the gossip. I am benefited spiritually, metaphysically by those who seek to harm me, and that it is actually God expunging my record, which I need, especially if what they say is true. Man, if all of what they have said about me is true, then they are doing me a solid by talking about it and flagrantly just shouting from the YouTube hilltops about what a devil I am. Because they are not only expunging my record for me, but they are also raising my rank. And there was a great friend of God who once he heard someone was speaking ill of him. And so he sent that person a tray of the best dates that could be found. And he said, "Thank you. I accept your gift to me in the form of your gossip about me, because it expunges my record and also raises my rank. So thank you." So in that way, I've also grown to see it as potentially millions of people who have said bad things, and that is great for me. And for those, not just to harp on the negative, I have received undeniable love from all over the world, from people who have written to me extensively, explicitly saying that the music has saved their lives. People who have gone through very difficult things. People who don't want to be here anymore, who changed their minds as a result of the music. Things like that. It's overwhelming. It's so beautiful that something I put into the world. Sorry. That something that God has given me the the blessing of being able to share. That it could help people to the extent that they choose to continue to live. So especially in those moments, I just feel such immense gratitude to God for allowing me the blessing of sharing, expressing, and using my voice in the way that I can, and my stories in the way that I can. So those messages come in all the time from all over the world. And also, like yesterday, I met a 7-year-old girl. Shout out to Zarina, who wrote me a beautiful card and was so excited to meet me and told me I was her favorite artist, her favorite star. And she was just overjoyed to meet somebody who shared her faith, who made her feel good about being Muslim, who looked like her mom. You know, representation that's not cheap, that's not sensationalistic, that's just chill and real. So shout out to little Zarina, who was just excited to meet somebody she'd only ever seen on YouTube. So, so that, that combined with the spiritual side of just being permitted to share my heart, and the very practical human side of knowing that I am somebody little girls get to see and look up to. Even if I don't offer the best example, I am doing my best.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. Yeah, thank you, Mona. I'm thinking about a scene from the Great Muslim American Roadtrip, that mini series that you and Sebastian did, which, by the way, I highly recommend people check out. I remember a scene of you visiting this one area with these young girls, just saying thank you so much for your music, for your message, and how much that empowered them. And I'm so glad. I was reviewing the album, preparing for this podcast, of course, and just feeling another wave of amazement and gratitude for your presence in this world and all of the ways that you share yourself. And I really appreciate what you just talked to us about. And yes, indeed, there are a couple of songs on this last album that I was like, whoa, when I say jaw dropped, Strike was definitely one of them.
1 strike, 2 strike, 3 strikes out. Be careful what you let come out your mouth. 1 strike, 2 strikes, 3 strikes done. You will not like who you will become. 1 strike, 2 strike, 3 strikes out. Be careful what you let come out your mouth. 1 strike, 2 strikes, 3 strikes done. You will not like who you will become.
Also set the record straight. Was like, wow, that's amazing. Like, when I am feeling any kind of external judgment or fear of that judgment, those songs give so much strength. And in a way, I feel that you already spoke to this, Mona, but it's something that I, in my very own way, sometimes grapple with, is being the full version of myself while also wanting to respect these other identities that sometimes I inhabit. Including the heart of Islam, and also not always being someone else's idea of what that looks like. And I just wonder if there's anything else that you want to share with me, with those who are listening, who also struggle with that, and how you really find that permission to embody the fullness of who you are. As you said, liberate yourself through that art, regardless of what love or hate might come your way as a result. I would love to hear anything else in that category.
This isn't going to be a trendy answer.
I love that.
It might not feel that nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's discipline. And if God designed me and he told me to pray 5 times a day, and I believe he is wise, and that he is a wise creator, then I'm going to pray 5 times a day. And I know that that will liberate me. And I know that that is what will set me free, what does set me free. And I know I truly cannot, in my heart, leave room for how others might perceive me or might perceive my practice, because I am in a conversation with him about it already. There's no room. There's no room for the voice of 9 million views of people on YouTube or on Instagram. And that's not to say that I don't accept valid critique or criticism, but I accept it from those who truly know me, from those who spend time with me, who know me intimately and actually see my faults, the real ones, the real sharp, jagged ones, the cutting ones, and seek to soften them because they love me and they want the best version of me for themselves and for me. So it's not easy to tell people that you just have to align to the commands of God, because we live in a world that is really interested in self-care. I want self-abandonment. I don't want anything if it takes me away from God, if it takes me out of the joy that I've had from proximity to Him and the actual elation, the actual happiness, contentment. And I've only had glimpses, glimmers. I just know I want more. So I'm going to do what He says as much as I can.
Thank you, Mona. Ending on that note about self-care, with especially your role as an activist and a mother, so much of your music and your art is activism, and I would love to hear you say a little bit about how your activism has grown and also how you stay connected to the love and love for self and also love for justice and staying healthy in that process too.
Yeah, I think what most people struggle with is burnout. And the question I get a lot from activists is, how do we avoid it? From a spiritual framework, how do we avoid the burnout, the very physical toll activism takes on a body, the struggle for justice can have on our bodies? And that's what I mean by self-abandonment. When you abandon yourself to the one who is just, the just, and you're serving from a place of serving that, not a fleeting justice. Justice of the dunya is an ephemeral justice. Justice for our material bodies is a fleeting justice. What we really want, what we're really actually hungry for, is justice of our souls, an everlasting justice, a justice that is about more than the material realm. And so the intention is what matters, and it's the intention that changes the metaphysical and material reality of what happens when you do what you do. So if we move from intention of creating lowercase justice on earth, then you're pulling from a limited resource. When the intention is about serving Allah, who is Al-Adil, the just, you pull from an eternal resource. an everlasting, unextinguishable treasury that can never be exhausted. And the result, the metaphysical and material result of those two could never be equal. So intention is what makes the difference. When we're screaming and shouting for justice and we're pulling from emotion and sentiment, which is beautiful and valuable, but it doesn't last. It's ephemeral. It's dying. When you pull from love, capital L, it is lasting. You're anchored to the everlasting al-baqi. And yeah, it's the intention that matters. It's what makes all the difference. So I won't ever get tired so long as I make the intention to pull from that place.
Maybe your world will burst into flames if you dare to tell the truth. Or maybe everything will be illuminated. Your deepest experiences deserve to be voiced. And when you speak what is true, the whole world is lifted. You're invited to a free hour of wild heart writing with seasoned author and teacher Mirabai Starr, who will guide you in storming the gates of silence that have barred you from your authentic voice. Reclaim the power of your own story in a safe and brave container during our upcoming event, Flames of Truth. Unleash your story. Be the first to know when registration opens by joining our email list at wildheart.space. Yes, love with a capital L. And it's so easy for me sometimes to forget that love, it's not a finite resource. There is that vastness of replenishing, unlike some other resources in our world. So thank you for that reminder. And I wonder, where do you see love embodied, that infinite love around you in your life, both in the human beings and the more than human world?
Anybody who has ever had a child, you just look into those eyes and it's undeniable. Um, that's why it's really important to, like, language is so important. It's not coincidence. For instance, the way Allah is Ar-Rahman, the most merciful, but that's not a complete translation. Rahim, the root is womb, of mercy. It's womb. The wombing one, I know you and I have talked about this before, but this is a reality of the one who chose to call himself over and over and over. Every chapter in the Quran but one begins with Bismillah Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Two, two, two of those names of God. In the name of God, the most merciful, the especially merciful, the specifically merciful. Those two mercies come from the root word for womb. And so I feel it there. I feel it there. with my children. And in the eyes of anyone who has maintained some of their fitra, their primordial nature, their innocence. You meet people all the time like that, who there's just something deeply good there, and you see it. It's not exactly a sparkle, it's not exactly a glimmer, it's just something ineffable that you can't exactly put into words. But when you see it and you know it, it gives you hope, gives you big hope.
So beautiful. I have another thing to bring up, Mona. So, you've spoken a couple of times now about yourself as a mother, and I am excited for the day that that comes for me. I really would love to have children someday soon, and I love your children. I have met two of the three of them, and to me, there is such an eager excitement about the mystery and transformation and love that comes with motherhood. And I wonder how your role as a mother and your experience of loving your children changed your spiritual life or expanded it.
May Allah give you righteous children who will be the coolness of your eye when the time is best for you. I fell in love as a young woman with the Surah of Maryam, chapter of Mary. I would just listen to it over and over and over. There's something in that chapter that I just identify with so profoundly, and it is that motherhood terrified her. When the messenger of God brought her the news that she was pregnant, she did what you do when you're in like terrible fear. She said, "A'udhu billah." Well, she said, "A'udhu bir-Rahman." I seek refuge in Ar-Rahman from you. Which is like what happens when you're being attacked, what you do when you're being attacked spiritually. This is something that caused her to feel that emotion. And then when she's giving birth, she's under a tree. She says, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Ya laytani mittu qabla hadha wa kuntu nasyan mansiya." I wish that I had died before this, that I was a long forgotten thing in the throes of labor. She's, in it. She's experiencing the full spectrum of human grief. And she's supposed to bring this child out into her society as a young woman with no protector in a patriarchal society. No man who will watch over her and help her. No man to protect her in a society that largely only valued the voices of men, the strength of men, the power of men, the position of men. But here she was, chosen by God to usher in the Messiah, Jesus Christ, Son of Mary. Yeah, there is. I haven't had an easy experience of motherhood. And I think that surah really makes me feel seen and held in my, like, I didn't have spiritual pregnancies. Like, some women just carry it so beautifully. Um, I feel terrorized by by a lot of the, like, physical, biological experiences of motherhood. Um, so I just feel so seen and held by the Quran and God noticing her anguish and her pain. I just feel it so deeply and profoundly, and I'm so grateful that here she is in the throes of labor, and God tells her, do not grieve. Don't be sad. Here is a flowing river for you to drink from beneath your feet. Here are some dates that will fall upon you. Just shake this tree. And he's attentive to our grief and our pain. I know that isn't where you were hoping I would go maybe with this, but I haven't had an ecstatic experience of motherhood, and I wouldn't lie about that, but I feel like it's just such a common experience that actually motherhood breaks our hearts in a lot of ways. It breaks us down, and that's why it's the sunnah of life. That's why it's such an important part of spiritual maturity, having children, because you're forced into submission by these little beings. And you must, or you will suffer. Yeah.
That's perfect, Mana. It's exactly, I wanted the truth. And I'm not a mother myself in that way, so I don't know yet. I've worked with a lot of children, so it's a full experience, and I'm so glad you brought that part of it in too. And I also want to say, in the music video for Hijabi, which I recommend everyone goes and watches, you're pregnant, and so amazing looking. I love that you're pregnant in that. And I think actually your Instagram bio is like, aren't you the pregnant one who is rapping? And then in songs from the Mothership, you're pregnant. And I wonder, as a closing question, what songs from the Mothership meant to you. I love that you were pregnant in these music videos, in that album cover, really feeling the potency of your creative offerings to the world and that image of you in pregnancy. So beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm here to let you know that getting on our Wild Heart email list is the best way to stay in the loop about upcoming events and everything we're up to here at Wild Heart. Receive our musings on divinity in daily life, feminine wisdom, embodied writing, and grief as a spiritual path at wildheart.space. Yeah.
I think it's so funny that God planned all of that way because of how vain I am. That he, like, just put me on full blast. You're going to be the biggest you've ever been when the most people will see you. Um, and you're just going to be, you know, almost 80 pounds heavier than you normally are. I'm 5 foot nothing, for those who don't know. So carrying 80 extra pounds is really taxing for my body. Also, I have autoimmune disease. And so it's just funny to me that God was like, okay, and your joints are going to be sore and you're going to be puffy. And that's how we're going to put you out into the world. It's going to be your launching into culture, pop culture, forever. It's going to live on the internet forever. So I just love that for myself and for my ego in general. It's so delicious. And then I just think pregnancy is so alive. Of course, it's you carrying two souls. or more. Um, and in that way, I just always feel really creative, and there's a lot coming through. So I try to harness it and take advantage of it and put out, I mean, songs from the Mothership is a product of many, many, many years of a lot of work, but it came together during this last pregnancy, I think as a result of that creative energy being harnessed. So I'm really grateful to Mariam coming through so that I could finish this project. Grateful to God for allowing that, and bringing her into our lives and bringing all that she brought. But yeah, uh, and I just know that we can be pregnant with so much, not just children. Um, we can be pregnant with our stories, eh, and give birth to stories of truth and authenticity, sincerity. We are portals through which the unseen becomes manifest. And God allows us to be these portals. He calls women in the Quran حافظات للغيب, protectors, guardians of the unseen. Because we are the portal by which souls come into the world. We are also the portal by which that love we were talking about earlier comes into the world, pours into the world. And our bodies can be that. They can also be the opposite of that. They can be where wrongfulness and oppression pours into the world, unfortunately. It's our choice. It's really the only choice we have. And whatever it is that we are fostering and nurturing in our pregnancy, not just pregnancy of babies, mind you, we're not talking about just that, but the pregnancy of our character. You're pregnant with your character, with your soul, and there's a way in which it will be birthed at the end of your life and presented to God. And I think that's the most important pregnancy, is this heart that we have to return to God at the end of our lives, qalb salim, a whole, sound heart, a sound heart.
Yeah.
That's what we're all trying to give birth to at the end,
Yeah.
ultimately,
Sound
inshallah.
heart. Yeah, I love that, Mona. I actually just had an art show in Taos, and in my artist bio, I was talking about how I see creativity as this living, fertile process that feels like I've birthed so many creative things, which is
Yeah.
again why I love that you are so beautiful and radiant and pregnant in so much of the work that you put into the world. And yeah, that reminder that we're birthing so many things. Thank you. Well, as we wrap up, are there any things you want to share with the listeners about how to connect with you more, things that you're up to, ways that they can connect?
Yeah, I work with people one-on-one as a coach. I work with people who are seeking a spiritual companion on the path, and people who are searching for somebody to be a mirror for them. I'm not a sheikha. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a guide. I am a companion. And I am happy to offer my companionship to sincere hearts who are seeking. It's my favorite thing that I do in the world. Actually, I make music. I do art direction. I started producing music. Even I do so many things. I write poetry. I write prose. But this particular calling that I have is my favorite, because of the alchemy that is possible inside of the human being when we are sincere. And I have seen it in my own self. What's possible. Again, just glimmers. I'm a student. And I have seen it in others. And I just feel so inspired, and so hopeful, and so encouraged about this potential we all have. And I'm so grateful to walk with people to do that. So yeah, my clients are always like, you never talk about it when you do public things. You never share that you how are people supposed to find out? Well, I always tell them you're supposed to be the one to tell others. It's word of mouth. And they do. It's true. They do a great job. I actually have the best clients in the world. Alhamdulillah. I have been so blessed by God. And yeah, so here I am just trying to share more about what I do.
I love
So
it.
I do that. Alhamdulillah. Beyond that, I try to stay active on Instagram as much as I can. I do Thursday Q&As when I can, where people can send in any questions they have. And I try to really sit with the question and spend time and share honestly.
Beautiful.
From anything I've learned from my teachers over the years. So yeah, the most Mona.
We will link it. And definitely recommend following for sure. Thank you so much, Mona. And yeah, as I mentioned, the Great Muslim American Roadtrip, that is a series that you can watch. And actually, Mona and Sebastian stopped at Lama Foundation when I was still living there. Ask a Muslim, you can also learn more about that. It's still rippling out there in the world. And thank you so much, Mona. Such a special occasion to be able to talk with you. And thank you, Mona.
Thank you so much, Willow.
Thank you for your time, your attention, your love. Thank you for tuning into the Wild Heart podcast. Make sure to check out the show notes for the links to connect with Mona and to see what we are up to here at wildheart.space. If you enjoyed the episode, please leave us a review to help others find this wisdom. We're grateful to have you be a part of this community, and we look forward to welcoming you to a future event or a future podcast. Much love.